Today I'm going to be talking about my most anticipated book releases for the next 3 months. This is going to include books that are coming out in April, May, and June of 2025. These will primarily be mystery thriller books, but there's also going to be some other genres in here. You're going to see some romance and some sci-fi as per usual. I do have a lot more books to talk about in this video than I have recently in my most anticipated book release videos. I have 36 books. So I decided to take some inspiration and try to organize it a little bit. I really like how Mara from Books Like Whoa organizes her videos, where she talks about series she wants to continue, authors that she's already read from, and then other books, or just like finds ways to group them in that sort of category. So I'm going to focus within each month first on, especially for April, books I've already read because I have some arcs from April that I've already read, then books from authors that I've already read from before, and then books that are from authors I have not read from before. And within each month I also have a couple of books that I have on my radar, but they're not top tier. They're definitely books I'm going to wait for reviews, so I'll have some bonus books sprinkled in within each month as well, but we are going to go in the order of each month. Hopefully that's not too complicated. Let's get into it. First up in April, there are 3 books on my list for April releases that I have already read and that you've already seen me talk about. First up is Murder at Gull's Nest by Jess Kidd. This is coming out April 8th, and this is a mystery story that I featured in a reading vlog recently that unfortunately I did not end up loving. I did give this book a 2-star, but I think this book had great atmosphere building and great writing. It just wasn't compelling enough to really hook me, and this is the start of a new series, and it didn't give me enough to make me want to continue in the series. But if you're looking for a historical seaside mystery novel with a lot of atmosphere and kind of a morose tone, then maybe this is one worth checking out. It's set in 1954, and you're following a woman named Nora Breen who was a nun, and she had a friend that she was pen pals with, and then she stopped hearing from her friend and she wants to go see if she can find out what happened to her. So she decides to leave being a nun after like 30 years of doing this to go track down her friend. She goes and lives in the boarding house that her friend lived in. She gets to know these people, and then other things start happening. Other people start disappearing or dying. Like I said, I've got a vlog for this one if you want to check it out and hear more information. Also in that same vlog, I read Julie Chan is Dead by Leanne Zhang. This is coming out April 29th, so more towards the end of April. And this is a story about these 2 twins who were separated very shortly after birth. They were very young when they were separated, and they lived very different lives. Their parents died is why they ended up getting separated. One of them was raised by their aunt, and one of them was adopted by this rich white family. That one went on to become this famous influencer. The other one is just pretty miserable in her life. They end up connecting, and the miserable one ends up finding the influencer dead, and instead of doing anything about it, she decides to try to take over her life, pretend to be her since they're identical twins, and live the lavish influencer life, and things go awry. I did enjoy this one a bit more. I give this one a 3-star. The beginning, it took me a bit to get into the story. It felt a little bit more young adult than I was expecting for the tone of this, but by the end things go off the rails in a really fun way that I enjoyed. And then speaking of off the rails, the other April release I have already read is The Last Session by Julia Bartz. This is the same author of The Writing Retreat, which is a thriller that I absolutely loved. Unfortunately, this one did not live up to the same love that I have for that book, but I did give this one a 3-star and had an enjoyable experience reading it. In this story, we're following a social worker who is working at this facility. One day this woman comes in and she's not speaking, and she feels like she recognizes her. She feels this connection to her, and then she ends up disappearing, and so the social worker decides to go pursue her, see if she can find her. Ends up taking her on this journey where she goes to New Mexico and gets into some crazy things along the way. If you liked the crazy feel of The Writing Retreat, I would recommend checking out this one. The atmosphere is very different. Since The Writing Retreat was this cold, snowy, isolated atmosphere, this one is in the heat of the desert, and they have some different themes that they touch on, but it definitely feels like it's written by the same author. So if you're looking for that Julie Bartz feel again, that's hard to get from other authors, definitely check this one out. There are a couple continuations of mystery series coming out in April that I'm excited to check out. The first one comes out April 1st, and it is the second book in the Vera Wong series. This one is called Vera Wong's Guide to Snooping on a Dead Man. This is a cozy mystery series. The first book was Vera Wong's Unsolicited Advice for Murderers. I absolutely love that and gave it a 5 stars, so I'm very much looking forward to this follow-up. Vera Wong is this older lady who runs a little tea shop, and in the first book, someone died in her tea shop, and she took it upon herself to lead the investigation, even though she has no business leading an investigation. She corrals her suspects, she gets to know these people, she brings them together, and it was just a very fun, cozy mystery time. I haven't even actually looked at the synopsis of what this second book is about, but I'm guessing it'll probably be some other type of murder mystery that she ends up meddling in again. How to Seal Your Own Fate is the second book in the Castle Knoll Files series. The first book in this series was How to Solve Your Own Murder, and I love this book as well. I gave it like a 4.5, 5 star. This first book follows a woman who is investigating the death of her great aunt. Her great aunt lived her whole life believing that she was going to be murdered because of this prophecy a fortune teller told her when she was very young, and it turned out to be true because she did get murdered. And now her great niece is in this small cozy village investigating what happened to her great aunt, trying to figure out who killed her and why. And I also think you got the perspective of her great aunt in the story as well, of when she gets the prophecy and doing some investigating and some time through her life. Again, haven't looked into the synopsis of this, just know I enjoyed the first book, so I plan on picking this one up as well. Looks like it will be in another idyllic English village. We're gonna have another murder mystery, and I bet it's gonna be a good time. Now jumping into books that I haven't read yet by authors that I have read from. Nat Cassidy has a new book coming out April 22nd called When the Wolf Comes Home. This looks to be a full-length novel, a little over 300 pages, and includes werewolves. We have a struggling actress who finds a 5-year-old runaway hiding in the bushes outside her apartment. Her and the boy are running for their lives. They attempt to evade the boy's increasingly desperate father. Horrifying incidents of butchery follow them. She's about to learn there's a lot more to these surreal and grisly events than she could have ever imagined, and that's when the wolf finally comes. None will be spared. You know, I feel like every time I talk about this creature, I do get some comments about the way I say this word. I don't know how to say it any better or differently. Werewolf? Werewolf. Werewolf. I don't know. This is just how I say the word, so apologies if it bothers you, but werewolf stories are so popular right now. We got like 2 big movies recently. I am not into werewolves that much. I am, however, very into Nat Cassidy's writing, so I think I'll give this a try. It probably won't be something I read right away, but I have always enjoyed his writing, so maybe he'll make me like werewolves. Abby Jimenez has a new romance book called Say You'll Remember Me. This comes out April 1st. I absolutely love Abby Jimenez's books. They are almost always 5 stars. Maybe they are always 5 stars. Have I ever given Abby Jimenez anything less than a 5 star? I don't know. I guess this is probably just going to be a standalone novel. I don't know if this is going to start another series, but recently a lot of what she's published has been in a series, so if you were worried about that, you can just pick this up and read it right away. In this one, we have a gorgeous veterinarian giving Greek god vibes, who also is cuddling a tiny kitten, but it seems like he's also an asshole, and then Samantha goes on this date with him. It goes really well, but she has to admit that her family is in crisis and any kind of relationship would be impossible. She begs him to forget her, to remember their night together as a perfect moment, as crushing as that might be. But it's impossible to forget, and of course they're gonna fall in love. I guess second chance romance? I don't know. I don't remember a lot of hearing what Abby Jimenez has said this one is about, but I'm sure I'm gonna love it. Another romance author I like to read, Emily Henry, has a new book coming out April 22nd, Great Big Beautiful Life. I did not love Emily Henry's last book. She's a little hit or miss with me, so I'm not sure how I'll feel about this one, but I'm gonna keep reading them for now. This one follows 2 writers competing for the chance to tell the larger-than-life story of a woman with more than a couple of plot twists up her sleeve. So there's this woman named Margaret, and they want to write a biography, and Margaret invites them to this 1-month trial period where they're going to compete writing her biography, but she is only giving each of them pieces of her story, and then, you know, of course, they're going to fall in love. Sounds a little bit reminiscent of Beach Read, which is one that I didn't love as much, so not sure how this will go for me. It's not going to be top of my radar. I'm definitely going to read the Abby Jimenez book soon, but this one I'll probably wait to see some reviews. And now for some authors that I personally have never read from before, but these books caught my attention and made me want to pick them up. First is Flirting Lessons by Jasmine Guillory. This is a queer romance book. You have Avery Jensen and Taylor Cameron. Avery is fresh off a breakup. She is uptight. She wants to start dating, but she doesn't have a lot of experience and doesn't have a lot of confidence. Taylor is a big flirt, also just coming off of a relationship, and she has a bet going on with her best friend that she can't make it until Labor Day without sleeping with someone. And so I suppose Taylor is giving Avery flirting lessons, and then of course falling in love. Sounds really cute, sounds really fun, and I've only heard amazing things about this author, so I think this will be a fun one to start with. This Is Not a Game by Kelly Mullen is coming out April 8th, and this is a locked room mystery, which I love. It follows a grandmother and a granddaughter who are snowed in at a party in a mansion where the host has been murdered, and then they try to solve the murder together. It sounds very cute. It also has a very cute cover, so I think I'm gonna check this one out. And then The Matchmaker by Aisha Saeed is coming out April 8th. And this is labeled both a mystery and a romance. A society matchmaker realizes she's in danger when her clients' weddings are sabotaged in increasingly disturbing ways. After a couple's carefully constructed wedding implodes, Nura is blindsided by a cascading chain of increasingly terrifying events and realizes someone is taking things way too far. Her childhood best friend is by her side. I guess that's where the romance is coming in, and they embark on a dangerous cat and mouse game, threatening not only her safety, but everything she's worked so hard to build. Finally, for April, there are a few more books that are on my radar that I'm just not totally sure I'm gonna read, but I'll look out for some reviews of them and see if it's interesting to me. The Influencers by Anna Marie Michelmore, The Maid's Secret by Nita Prose. I have read the first 2 books in the series and also the little Christmas novella, but I don't absolutely love them, so I don't feel like I'm gonna be picking it up unless it makes it in the Goodreads Choice Awards at the end of the year. And then Bat Eater and Other Names for Cora Zheng by Kylie Lee Baker. Now going into May, starting with authors that I have read from before. The first one is No One Was Supposed to Die at This Wedding, which is the second book in the Vacation Mystery series. The first book in the series was Every Time I Go on Vacation, Someone Dies. Absolutely loved it. Gave it a 5-star. You're following an author who's writing this series. She wants to kill off the guy in the series who's inspired by a real life guy in her life. They're on this vacation. Murders start to happen. Someone really trying to kill him off. Someone trying to kill her off. Who knows? Murders ensue. It was really fun and cheeky and had a fun meta quality to it, so I'm excited to continue in this series. But I imagine if I look at the synopsis for the second one, it might spoil you for the first one, so just know it's set at a wedding and I'm excited to continue. Next is The Man Made of Smoke by Alex North. This is coming out May 13th, and the publisher actually sent me a physical copy of this, so I'll definitely be reading this soon. I really enjoy Alex North's books. He is the author of The Whisper Man, The Shadows, and The Angel Maker, all of which I have enjoyed. And this latest novel is a serial killer thriller. Dan Garvey's life has been haunted by the crime he witnessed as a child, narrowly escaping an encounter with a notorious serial killer. He's dedicated his life since to becoming a criminal profiler, eager to seek justice for innocent victims. So when his father passes away under suspicious circumstances, Dan revisits his small island community, determined to uncover the truth about his death. Is it possible that the monster he remembers from his childhood nightmares has returned after all these years? I feel like his stories always have some similar qualities to them, and then I always enjoy them, so I'm looking forward to picking this one up. And then May 6th, we have a new Frida McFadden book called The Tenant, and I actually just saw an early review of this one today that was talking about how wonderful this is. Can it be trusted? I don't know, but that gives me some hope. That's an encouraging signal. In this story, we are following Blake Porter, who is riding high until he's not, fired abruptly from his job as a VP of marketing, unable to make mortgage payments. He's desperate to make ends meet. Enter Whitney, beautiful, charming, down-to-earth, and looking for a room to rent. She's exactly what Blake is looking for, or is she? Because something isn't quite right. The neighbors start treating Blake differently. The smell of decay permeates his home no matter how hard he scrubs. Strange noises jar him awake in the middle of the night, and soon Blake fears someone knows his darkest secrets. I'm assuming this will just be on Kindle Unlimited like Frida's books usually are, and then I'll just hit that download button and give it a little read and see how it goes. Then I have 4 books from authors that I've not read from before that are coming out in May, and I actually have arcs of all 4 of these books, so definitely be reading all of them. First is Feeders by Matt Serafini. This is coming out May 20th, and this is a horror novel. This is a darkly satirical supernatural thriller following a would-be influencer whose dreams of online fame spiral into nightmare territory when she encounters a mysterious and dangerous social media platform. I have not been reading as much horror this year, but this one sounds like it's going to have more of a campy tone to it, which I think will work for me because I'm not really looking for like dark, depressing things right now, but this one sounds like it might be a little funny, a little campy. It's said to be good for fans of Grady Hendrix, and that concept sounds really fun to me, so I'll be checking this one out soon and let you know how it goes. The Memory Collectors by Det Meserve is coming out May 20th, and this is a sci-fi novel with some time travel elements. In the story, 4 strangers time travel to the past and find themselves stuck on the day all their lives were changed in a stunning speculative mystery. Said to be good for fans of Before the Coffee Gets Cold, which I enjoyed, Wrong Place, Wrong Time, which I also enjoyed, and The Paradox Hotel, which I have not read. What would you do if you could spend an hour in your past? 4 strangers in the beach town of Ventura, California are about to find out. All these people want to go back to that hour for a certain reason, and then enter Aeon Expeditions, the groundbreaking time travel invention of Mark Saunders, which allows some lucky clients the chance to spend an hour in their past. Even though the technology ensures time travel can't alter their future, all 4 clients, including Mark's ex-wife Elizabeth, yearn to revisit the hour that changed their lives forever. But when their hour extends beyond 60 minutes, they find themselves stranded in the past. As their paths intertwine unexpectedly, they unearth shocking secrets hidden in the shadows of their shared experience, I suppose. All their lives were shattered on the same night on a secluded highway by the beach. As they delve into the hidden truths of that pivotal hour, a startling revelation emerges. They were not alone. Someone else was present, harboring deadly intentions. This one sounds so fun. I love a time travel story, and then this one has a mystery element to it as well. That sounds really intriguing, so I'm very much looking forward to reading this one. Next is Awake in the Floating City by Susanna Kwan, which I have a physical copy of. This is a sci-fi dystopia story. It's also a debut novel, and it's about the unexpected relationship between an artist and the 130-year-old woman that she cares for, 2 of the last people living in a flooded San Francisco of the future, the home neither is ready to leave. There's also a lot of stories coming out this year about the future and flooding and just water being everywhere. This is a very common dystopian topic that's being looked at right now. This one in particular sounded really interesting to me though. The 2 characters are Bo and Mia. Bo is alone. She is an artist, unable to make art. A daughter, unable to give up the hope that her mother may still be alive. She finds a note slipped under her door from Mia, an elderly woman who lives in her building and wants to hire Bo to be her caregiver, and so Bo has a reason to stay when the water rises instead of evacuating with other people. Mia can be prickly, and yet she and Bo forge a connection deeper than any Bo has had with a client. Listening to Mia, allowing her memories to become entangled with Bo's own, she's struck by how much history will be lost as the city gives way to water. Then Mia's health turns, and Bo determines to honor their disappearing world and this woman who's brought her back to it, a project that teaches her the lessons that matter most: how to care, how to be present, how to commemorate a life and a place soon to be lost forever. Definitely sounds like an emotional story, but I could use a good cry. Who couldn't? And then The Retirement Plan by Sue Hinsenberg is coming out May 6th. This is a mystery story where you are following 3 middle-aged best friends who turn to murder in order to collect on their husbands' life insurance policies, but are unaware that their husbands have a devious plan of their own. This is said to be good for fans of the Thursday Murder Club, which I love, and everyone in my family has killed someone, which I also love, so theoretically I should love this. When one husband dies in a freak accident, the other 3 women are shocked to see his widow rebound with a huge life insurance payout and a new life in Florida. In the aftermath, the women discover that their husbands have identical 7-figure life insurance policies, a new dream forms, and this time it involves a hitman. Meanwhile, the husbands have a secret retirement plan of their own, so when things begin to go awry, they fear their own scheme may have backfired with deadly consequences. The husbands scramble to stay alive, but they may not be fast enough to outmaneuver their wives. And then the 3 books that are on my radar that I won't necessarily be picking up right away are all from authors I've read from before, and I just have a little bit of hesitance in knowing if these will be books for me. That's The Starving Saints by Caitlin Starling, Immaculate Conception by Ling Wang, and This Book Will Bury Me by Ashley Winstead. So I'll be looking out for early reviews of all those books, and then that'll kind of help me make my decision. And finally in June, I have 4 books coming out from authors that I've read from before that I am excited about. First up is Meet Me at the Crossroads by Megan Giddings. This is coming out June 3rd. From Megan Giddings, I have read Lakewood and The Women Can Fly, and I really enjoyed both of those stories, so very much looking forward to reading more from her. This is a fantasy sci-fi story about 2 brilliant sisters and what happens to their undeniable bond when a mysterious and possibly perilous new world beckons. On an ordinary summer morning, the world is changed by the appearance of 7 mysterious doors that seemingly lead to another world. People are, of course, mesmerized and intrigued. A new dimension filled with beauty and resources beckons them to step into an adventure. But perhaps inevitably, people soon learn that what looks like paradise may very well be filled with danger. Ayana and Olivia, 2 Black Midwestern teens and twin sisters, have different ideas of what may lie in the world beyond. But will their personal bond endure such wanton exploration? And when one of them goes missing, will the other find solace of her own? And will she uncover the circumstances of what truly happened to her once constant companion and best friend? Both of the previous novels I've read from Megan Giddings have sci-fi elements to them. This definitely seems like it's gonna be the most sci-fi from those stories, and I'm excited about it. Sounds like a cool concept. Lisa Jewell has a new book coming out June 24th called Don't Let Him In. 3 women are connected by one man in this kaleidoscopic thriller. Restaurateur Patty Swan was the life of the party until the day a man pushed him in the path of an oncoming train, leaving his 20-something daughter Ash and wife Nina devastated. Shortly after his funeral, the 2 women receive a surprise in the mail, a note and package from Nick Ratcliffe, an old friend of Patty's, and a nondescript lighter that once belonged to him decades ago. This unexpected gift draws Nick and Nina closer together, much to Ash's dismay. Martha is a small-town florist with dreams of expansion. She lives with her second husband, Al, her baby, and 2 sons from her previous marriage, but they never seem to have any money, and with his constant traveling for work, she feels like a single parent, especially when an emergency makes her realize something needs to change. But Nick and Al may not be who they say they are, leading these 3 women on a shocking collision course, wishing they had heeded a warning. Don't let him in. No idea what's going on from that synopsis. That's a lot of different characters. How are they connected? Who knows? But it sounds pretty good, and I've had some really good experiences with Lisa Jewell's books. Some I haven't loved as much, but I feel like in general, I at least enjoy her stuff. So this is a thriller that's at the top of my radar. Kill Your Darlings from Peter Swanson is coming out June 10th. I'm a little bit hit or miss with Peter Swanson, but this one sounded interesting to me, and it does look a little bit shorter, 288 pages. Tom and Wendy Graves have been married for over 25 years. They live in a beautiful Victorian on the North Shore of Massachusetts. Wendy is a published poet, and Tom teaches English literature at a nearby university. Their son Jason is all grown up, all is well, except that Wendy wants to murder her husband. What happens next has everything to do with what happened before. The story of Wendy and Tom's marriage is told in reverse, moving backward through time to witness key moments from the couple's lives. Their 50th birthday party, buying their home, Jason's birth, the mysterious death of a work colleague, all painting a portrait of a marriage defined by a single terrible act they plotted together many years ago. Eventually, we learn the details of what Tom and Wendy did in their early 20s, a secret that has kept them bound together through the length of their marriage. But its power over them is fraying, and each of them begins to wonder if they would be better off making sure their spouse carries their secrets to the grave. And then on June 10th, Janelle Brown has a new book out called What Kind of Paradise? I have read these 3 novels from Janelle Brown, Pretty Things, Watch Me Disappear, and I'll Be You. I really enjoyed all of these. I think Watch Me Disappear is probably my favorite. That's also the first novel that I read from her. I don't feel like I see a lot of people talking about Janelle Brown, but she writes more like literary mystery style stories that just have really great writing to them. So it's easy for me to lose track when she's coming out with a new book, because I usually won't hear about it much, and then I'm like, oh my gosh, okay, a new book. Gotta make some space for a new Janelle Brown. In this one, we have a teenage girl breaking free from her father's world of isolation. So it kind of reminds me of that book, These Silent Woods, where a dad has his daughter isolated in the woods. That's the same kind of situation here, but in this one, the daughter becomes a teenager, and then she decides to actually get away from the cabin in the woods. She realizes that her devotion to her father has made her an accomplice to a horrific crime. She flees Montana to the only place she knows to look for answers about her mysterious past and her mother's past, which is San Francisco. It's a city in the midst of a seismic change where her quest to understand herself will force her to reckon with both the possibilities and the perils of the fledgling internet, and where she will come to question everything she values. From some early reviews of this book, I've seen people particularly talking about that element of what this has to say about the internet, San Francisco tech culture, and I think maybe even AI. So this could be a really good one. Nikki Erlich, author of The Measure, a sci-fi book I really enjoyed, is coming out with a new book called The Poppy Fields on June 17th. What if there were a cure for the brokenhearted? Welcome to the poppy fields, where there's hope for even the most battered hearts to heal. Here, in a remote stretch of the California desert, lies an experimental and controversial treatment center that allows those suffering from the heartache of loss to sleep through their pain and keep on sleeping. After patients awaken from this prolonged state of slumber, they will finally be healed, but only if they're willing to accept the potential shadowy side effects. On a journey to this mystical destination are 4 very different strangers and 1 little dog. Each of their past secrets and mysterious motivations threaten to derail their voyage. As they attempt to make their way from the Midwest all the way to the poppy fields, where they hope to find Ellis, its brilliant, enigmatic founder, each of their past secrets and mysterious motivations threaten to derail their voyage. This one sounds super interesting. The Measure had a great concept that was executed super well. This one's got a great concept, so I'm hoping it's also executed super well. And then V.E. Schwab has a new book coming out June 10th, Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil, and this is a queer vampire story. I didn't need to hear anymore. I haven't read a lot from V.E. Schwab. I've only read The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, which I really liked. And then you tell me she has a queer vampire story coming out, and I am signing up for it. I will be reading it. Sounds great. 2 more books on my radar from authors I have not read from before. First is The Other Side of Now by Paige Harbison. This is coming out June 3rd, and it is said to be good for fans of Rebecca Serle and Taylor Jenkins Reid. Neither of those are my favorite, but I do like their concepts. I've liked some of their stuff, and this book sounds good. So this is a romance with some magical realism, time travel element. Looks like it's also set in Ireland. With a leading role on a hit TV show and a relationship with Hollywood's latest heartthrob, Meg Bryan appears to have everything she ever wanted. But underneath the layers of makeup and hairspray, her happiness is as fake as her stage name, Lana Lord. Following a small breakdown at her 30th birthday party, she books an impromptu trip to where she knows the grass is greener, Ireland. Specifically, the quaint little village where she and her best friend Amy always dreamt of moving, a dream that fell apart when an accident claimed Amy's life a decade ago. She goes to the town, everyone's super nice, except for the hot bartender who's giving her the cold shoulder. She thinks it's just something weird going on, but then she realized her hair is not the same, her skin's not the same, her nose looks like her old nose, her real nose. Her phone reveals hundreds of pictures of her life in this little town with an adorable dog she doesn't know, with the bartender who might be her ex-boyfriend, and at a retail job unrelated to acting. Eventually she comes to accept that she somehow made a quantum slide into an alternate version of her life. But the most shocking realization of all, in this life, her best friend Amy is alive and well, but wants nothing to do with Meg. I'm already like, oh my gosh, okay, what's gonna happen in the story? This sounds so good to me. And I also have an arc of this one, so I'll definitely be reading it soon. And then The Compound by Aisling Rawle, coming out June 24th. This is said to be Love Island meets The Hunger Games. It's a dystopian mystery thriller story. You're following Lily, a bored, beautiful 20-something, who wakes up on a remote desert compound alongside 19 other contestants competing on a massively popular reality show. To win, she must outlast her housemates to stay in the compound the longest while competing in challenges for luxury rewards like champagne and lipstick, plus communal necessities to outfit their new home like food, appliances, and a front door. Cameras are catching at all angles, good and bad, but Lily has no desire to leave. Why would she when the world outside is falling apart? As the competition intensifies, intimacy between the players deepens, it becomes increasingly difficult to distinguish between desire and desperation. The producers are messing around with things, and it keeps getting increasingly intense to win. This combination of Love Island meets The Hunger Games is so interesting to me. I hope it can live up to those comparisons and that premise because it sounds unique and fun, but those are also some big shoes to fill. And then finally, I have 3 books that are loosely on my radar for June. Those include If I Told You I'd Have to Kiss You by May Marvel, King of Ashes by S.A. Cosby, and The Bachelorette Party by Camilla Sten. So that's it for all of my most anticipated releases for the next 3 months. Let me know down below if there's anything I left off my list that you think I would enjoy. And let me know what your most anticipated releases are for the next 3 months. But that's it for me. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in my next video. Bye!